Slancha, y'all, and welcome to Tuesday night with Scotch on the Bayou Live. I'm Leanne, and it's already Tuesday, and we survived Mardi Gras, and we're scooting on into tomorrow is March, which is crazy. This year is flying by. But want to say hello and thanks to everyone who's in tonight. Talking about some sherry drams in one of my favorite distilleries. One I was lucky enough to get to go see. So I want to say hello to everyone. Mark, my Marky. There's lots of Marks if you haven't figured that out, but my Mark is sitting there doing his admin thing and his cheerleading. And hey, Sugar Kitty is in. And yes, thank you very much for the reminder to hit the like button. I hope you like what we're going to be doing tonight. Getting back to roots of whiskey, real whiskey talk. I like having the shows like the Mardi Gras show where we talk about culture of Louisiana and especially how it parallels a lot of times with the Scottish culture. But we're here to chat about whiskey, right? So super excited for everybody to be here tonight. And hey, Jimmy Jazz is here. And if you'll notice, there's quite a few people. I think we got a big shout out for him as being a 4-month Camp Drammer. There's quite a few of you all now since we started that. 4 months since we got back with real technology this year. And we are rocking and rolling. And we actually have a big thing to celebrate tonight. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Mark JG, thank you, friend, for being here. As always, you're one of my whiskey buddies. In real life too, which is awesome. Good morning. Andrew's in. Goodness. And hey, George, yes, might have to go round up some of those Glengoyne samples. I have a couple of samples, and then I've got a couple of bottles too that we're going to talk about and taste through. So you'll have to, if you haven't already, grab you something that's maybe if you have a Glengoyne, grab that. But if you don't, grab a sherry, or whatever you want to drink tonight is fine too, for sure. For sure. Hey, Mike, good to see you. Glad you can make it in. And hey, brother, Ken, Rhetoric, Jim, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. And Martin, again, both uh, Camp Drammers. I appreciate it. Speaking about those Camp Drammers, updated the credits. So the credit roll at the end's got everybody accounted for. And I want to make sure y'all know how much I appreciate the support. Really, really do. Hey, Mike, Molasses is in as well. Awesome. And Chuck's here too. Hey, Malt Minion. Yeah, pretty excited about this one distillery because it's a sherry bomb. I'm still in a sherry mode. It's hot down here in South Louisiana. For those in the north and in other climes, I hate to tell you, it was like 82 today. But we're supposed to get a little cold front to come through, so we'll be back in the 60s and 70s for the weekend, which I'm okay with. It gets hot enough here soon enough and long enough. I will take a little nice chill in the air. But it was nice. I sat out and had lunch out on the patio today, worked from home. And yeah, it's I'm still kind of in this sherry mode, not so much, like holiday, but I wanted to go through and kind of look at what all I had as far as bottles and then what I could talk to in an experience with that particular bottle. And so all the ones that I've actually gone to, all the bottles I have where I've actually gone to be able to tour a distillery for that expression, I've kind of put those together. And we started with the Bruichladdich last couple months ago, and we did that live. So I'm going to be doing a distillery spotlight series. So probably, one a quarter or a couple a quarter. We'll do this on a live show. I might even see about, chopping it down to make just a quick video of all the stuff we kind of talk about. But I put together some pictures. I've been getting a lot of feedback. Y'all like the pictures. So if you can stand me being in the pictures, I'm your girl, because we take a lot of pictures when we go places. Um, so we're going to talk about Glengoyne today, which is a place I was lucky enough to go to in 2019 and went there right before, like a day or two before I flew over to Isla for the Isla Whiskey Academy, and got to do their master blending course, which I know a couple of y'all have been able to do. I know Daniel for sure has done it. I think Jimmy Jazz has done it as well. But yeah, so we're gonna get into Glengoyne. My first pour is gonna be one you saw in the here, let me do that. Is this 18 back here? In the core expression. Oh me. And I just had a quick sip of it just a few minutes ago. And I think I'm gonna need to sit on this for a little while. Let me see who else is in here. So, hey, there's Daniel. Yeah, do what you can, friend. Thanks for being in anytime you can. So Jimmy has the 18 from an independent bottler, first edition, 50.7 refill, but in refill bourbon, no sherry bomb tonight. You know, that's the interesting thing. And what absolutely love about independent bottlers is you usually can get some of those interesting finishes that are atypical of the actual distillery's profile, right? Interesting. I want to know, Jimmy, let me know which IB that is, like which independent bottler that is. That's interesting. But yeah, so this lovely picture was taken of me by Roy. Roy met me at the distillery after I had taken the class, and you'll see other pictures of him. But we went. I went there. He picked me up from there, and I got to meet his lovely family. But man, what a magical place. When you think about where it's located, it's very close to Glasgow. Super easy. I literally took the bus from town. I didn't have a car that trip, and I just figured out how to take a bus and got there, and it literally dropped me off at the door. It was super. So if don't ever be afraid to take mass transit over there. It was out of the way. It's not in town for anything, but it was a bus, I don't know, going somewhere close, and I was able to jump on it, so it was great. Oh, okay. So Jimmy Jazz says it was literally called First Editions. Huh. I have to look into that one. But what's cool about independent bottlers too is, I mean, in that respect, he's got a Glengoyne spirit, and that independent bottler probably bought the spirit and put it in their own bourbon barrels. It's interesting. I always want to know, was it Glengoyne's bourbon barrel or was it the independent bottler's bourbon barrel? It's interesting. It seems the more I'm starting to learn about independent bottlers, it seems the larger they are, the more they have a prowess within their own casking strategies. So they can just buy spirit and put it in whatever they want to. Very interesting. Very cool. Yeah. So let's take a look at what those core range expressions are for Glengoyne. I'll add this back, and I'm gonna duck in here down in the corner. So their range, goes, there's a 10, let's see, that's a 10, 12, 18. And then they have a couple of different expressions. They've got the 21, and then they'll have the legacy chapter. So one of the other bottles I have is the legacy chapter. And let me pull this out. And so this is the other one that I have. This one is actually chapter 2, which is this is chapter 1. Sorry. So chapter 2 is the current one right now. So this one was bottled in 2019, and all non-chill filtered. This one's at 48%. It's a non-age statement. So from what I've read about the So chapter 2, I believe, is more of a bourbon. I need to go back and figure out chapter 1. I'm not so sure because I really thought I had chapter 2. Um, but yeah, when you look at their profile is primarily sherry, right? And so they're looking at different types of wood. They use American and they use European. They will use a combination of the two. Their American is usually sent and rebuilt. Those barrels are usually rebuilt and sent to Spain to be seasoned with sherry, where their European barrels are normally, those casks are going to be true to maturation of sherry. So it's interesting on how they play with that for sure. So it's 18. I think a lot of people believe, when you get into a sherry forward or sherry matured whiskey, that it's going to be super, super sweet. This is not super, super sweet at all. This has more of a umami or nuttiness, and I'm assuming Oloroso on these. They're not. The 18 doesn't say, but it's more. I want to say steakish. It's more meaty, It's got like a protein base to it. Um, there's a little bit of the kind of stewed fruit, but it's just glancing. It's not a predominantly sweet whiskey at all. It does have the drying effects of like a red wine or sherry. Interesting. Just a little bit of spice on the very end of the tongue. And it's more like just a hint of like a cinnamon or a clove, not ginger, not peppers, just a warm huggy spice. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Gosh, we've got a pile of people that just came in. Let's say hey. Hey, Troopers in. Hey, friend. Yes, I knew you liked that Glengoyne. I know that you like your sherry for sure. Awesome. Um, hey, Christine. Nice to see you. Thanks. Yes. Um, that's awesome. Thanks. And look at the puppy. We like lots of puppies on this channel. I'm stoked. 4-Leaf Whiskey is going to be on in 2 weeks with me, and we're going to be talking about Irish for Scotch drinkers. So I loved being on her show, and she knows so very much. And I'm super excited to be on for her to join us and school me on some Irish. That's for sure. Goodness. Hey, Peter, good to see you. Thanks for being in. And Donner's here. I know that work. Everybody just having to work, but you got to pay for the whiskey somehow, right? Yeah, it is the thing. It is, well, the ones I have are non-chill filtered. Now this Legacy, it's 43%. Yeah. No, wait. I can't read this. It's too small. One moment while I get something that helps me out. Yeah. Okay. So that's it. Legacy is 48 and the 18 is 43. And I agree with you. I mean, it being the 18 being the core range, they're going to probably back that ABV off just so that they can get more production out of it. But Donner, there is a cask strength that is really nice. And as Jimmy showed, you can find them independent bottlers as well. This cask strength, unfiltered, non-chill filtered, and it is 59.8. So this particular one, we're going to have in a little bit. We'll see. But, I'm working on the 43. And it tastes like a 43. It's pretty It's pretty thin compared to what my palate normally kind of demands. But the flavor is there. And I don't have to play with this whiskey. I don't have to add any water to it. It's just very, very nice. It's not real oily. It's not real viscous. It's got a really pretty color. But for an 18, I would like it to be a little warmer than that. But again, core range, they're going to do what they're going to do. Those enthusiasts that want to take it up a notch, they're going to seek out the different ones. And going back to, this core range, you've got the 10. So you've got the 10, the 12, the 18 here. And then this one, okay, I think this is chapter 1 and this is chapter 2. That's the way that is. Yeah, so chapter 1 does have more of the sherry influence, and chapter 2 is more based on bourbon matured and then finished in some sherry. And then this 21, which I had at the distillery, is wow, very nice. But again, at a lower ABV. And then there's this thing, this mystery bottle. And I say mystery bottle because I've never seen a real bottle. I am lucky enough to have 2 samples of this mystique thing called the teapot dram. So I had to see, does everybody know what the teapot dram is? And it's usually a distillery only. They sell it online first, and I think it sells out like in a day, if not that. And then you can buy it at the distillery after that. But I think there's still only 3,000 bottles total. And basically, it's named back, even like in the 70s, they would pay or they would give their workers a dram for the day. And some of them, and it was usually, it could be that it was just straight, spirit coming off the still, which would be pretty potent. Or it could be Glengoyne says that they actually had a young cask, a young sherry cask maturing whiskey that they would actually dole out drams to. Well, some folks couldn't handle the drams, so they would pour theirs in a teapot, and then they would be able to then pour a bottle of all of their drams later, or they would pour out of the teapot and drink drams all day. Well, needless to say, whatever the Scottish equivalent of OSHA is, pretty SWA kind of shut that practice down, and now there is absolutely no drinking really of anything while people are working. You've got to be safe. There's a lot of volatile things that are happening in a distillery, a lot of pressure items. So you don't want someone to be incapacitated making decisions on high pressure equipment or open flames. You get the idea. So, but they're keeping the nostalgia of the teapot dram. They're up to batch 8 now, I think. And I have batch 7, thanks to the Scotch for Dummies. And then I have another one, but I don't know which one this is. I don't know. It's teapot dram. I think Keith from Multivan Cake, I think Keith gave this to me, but I don't know which one it is. It's got to be before 7 though, so it's either 5 or 6. But we'll have a little taste of that too. Oh goodness, we got a pile of people in. I want to say hey to everybody. Oh look, well, Minion just poured. Chuck just called it. Which version is that? Oh goodness. Hey, Donna's and Callie. That's okay. But the Glasgow 1770 peated. Ooh, PX. That'll do. That'll more than do. Wow. Yum, yum. So Trooper, you've had the cast strength too. I figured I knew that you really liked Glengoyne, but I couldn't remember which ones that you had. Goodness. Yay. So fun fact, if you don't know, Glengoyne is owned by Ian McLeod Distillers, who also owns Tamdhu. So when you think about sherry bombs, those two are always up there. So they keep in their niche. It's really really interesting to see that. Man, I am so far behind. Yeah. Hey, Whiskey Franco, thank you for being here. Yes, and being a Camp Drammer. Be sure to look at the credits at the end, friend. Names it blazing in there. Oh goodness. Truly appreciate the support, y'all. Yes, these are the older labels because I haven't been able to find a Glengoyne since shutdown. So I'm interested to see what we'll be able to find. The ones that we were showing in the slideshow, those were all the new labels. And if you look, and I'll flip that back over real quick, but it has like the one goose back behind it, where as this has the two geese mirrored. And I love the tagline. Let me take that off so you can see a little bit better. But I love the tagline that says "Unhurried since 1833." They're just doing their thing. They're not in a big hurry to, mass produce. Mass produce in the sense of 1.1 million liters a year. And when you look at that, that's a pretty small range compared, to like the big boys of Glenlivet, Glenfiddich, Glenmorangie, Macallan for sure. So they're niche and they're doing their thing, right? So the grounds themselves, you saw that first picture, and I was laughing as the intro ran. I forgot that I had so many pictures of Glengoyne in that intro. But when you look at that, it's so very pretty. Interesting enough, the road that goes to and how you get there from Glasgow, the north side of the road is technically in the Highlands. That's where the white building in the distillery is. And the south side of the road is where the car parking lot, as we call it, is, and all the dunnage houses, the warehouses. And you're thinking, okay, well, no big deal. Well, the road is actually the demarcation for the Highlands and the Lowlands. So literally, the distillery is in the Highlands and the dunnage is in the Lowlands. So remember that. I know it's been on one of Roy's quizzes before, but it might be again. So fun fact with that. And then when you get in the back, so in the back of the property, you see this gorgeous water source up in the hill, and you'll see the water coming down, just right over here in this area is a little waterfall, and it runs along this creek bed. And then there's this holding pool of water, this little pond. And like I'm standing on a deck looking at it, taking this picture. And then the overflow comes over here. And this is what they use to run through the waters and through to cool everything and they use not as a bottling source, but as another water source. So it's this absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous place. And again, 30 minutes from Glasgow, super easy to get to. Let's see what's next. When you go in, they have warehouse 1 is kind of, it's there to look pretty, and that's okay because it is gorgeous. And you start looking at some of these, it is the original part of the original distillery and part of the original warehouse. Of course, they have all the modern stuff now on the other side of the road, but just the different casts that they have, I just think it's gorgeous. And there's this big iron gate, which is where you see this this big emblem. Interesting. I wonder. I bet they didn't change this, even they did a logo update on their bottles. This won't change. This is old school and as it should be. Just absolutely beautiful. And the smell, you get this dank this dank warehouse, a little musty. This is very inland. This is not close to a major ocean. So, I mean, you're smack dab in the middle of the mainland here. But you got a lot of still wet with the water source, and the earthenness of all of it is just a great, great smell. And of course, whiskey is wafting everywhere, everywhere. Goodness. So, I wanted to see, let's see, what's George saying? So George's got a little bit of the Glengoyne 17 Duncan's Dram, 57.3, also bourbon. Now see, okay, so I have, so I'm saying that because the other sample I have is a 17-year, but it was a 43 ABV. And again, I don't know who gave it to me. But the name's not on here. Mark your samples so people can say thank you. George is fabulous about his samples. His samples have a dissertation on them, which is perfect for all of us geeky people. So I'll absolutely love it. So Andrew's saying that he's looking at the ABV of that you blended yourself. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, the 21 went down to 43% too, right? Like, goodness. Interesting. Hey, Zach. Thanks for being here, friend. Good to see you. Miss you. Coming over in May. Zach's down about 5.5 hours that way. Down I-10. All of the swath of the Southern folk know kind of like where we all are. So Whiskey Franco, your aunt and cousins live about 20 minutes from Glengoyne. Try to bribe them to stop by and grab you something interesting. No kidding. What's their phone number? No, I'm joking. Wow. Yeah. That I would be getting into trouble about that for sure. When the new teapot comes out this year, I don't know. I would hope our overseas folks, maybe Andrew might know, or Jimmy might know when that pops up. On their website, they still have 8, according to that. So I'm not quite sure. I know when I went in October, the new one had not been released yet. So either it already has and it's 8, or I don't know. It's interesting. I'll have to find out. So that's okay. That's okay. I know sherry's not your strong point. We're going to be talking about bourbon soon. I promise. Bourbon, matured Scotch, actually bourbon. But yeah, cool. Awesome. So you think they did reintroduce the 15 to the core lineup soon? I hope so. I mean, this was off their site, so it's not, that one picture was off their site, so it wasn't like they wanted to right now. But yeah, the old range, this 18, I found it on vacation in Colorado. I mean, we just didn't get it. There's a couple of stores who's starting to carry it now, but back then when I got this bottle, it just wasn't there. But yeah, and I think, the ABV is something on core range. They're just gonna keep it at 43. I mean, what's 3%? How about knocking it to 46? I think there's an absolute appreciable difference in that 3% between a 43 and a 46%. Whether it's sherry, whether it's bourbon matured, whether it's peated, I think there's an appreciable difference. I think you can get away with it more on peat, just because the peat is kind of there and might mask even the ABV some. But yeah, just 3% more. Can I have some more? Very interesting. So I'm going to move on to the legacy. Again, this is the chapter 1. And it's so very pretty. The color is just lovely. This is 48%, and it is non-chill filtered. Much more maltiness on the nose. and winey. A couple of weeks ago, we did a wine matured for Valentine's, actually, didn't we? And this, I get more of the wine on the nose than I did on the 18 for sure. A little bit of that sourness, sour bread dough kind of malt, like a sourdough starter. Does anybody bake? Anybody know what I'm talking about? And a little hint of, what is a spice? More like a nutmeg clove on this one. More spice on the back end too. Yeah, Trooper. Unfortunately, UK gets all the teapot. Unless you can find someone that either go there or get it online when they do release it. Yeah, you're kind of out of luck there, boo. Goodness. So when you look at the distillery itself, it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, everything about it is pristine. You could eat off the floors. It's just so gorgeous. So Bill, my guide, took me through. I was the only person there for the master blending class that day. So we started off with this tour and working around. And I found it interesting that they have only one wash still and two spirit stills. And as you can see here, they have like this double deck. It's a split level. It's a walkout basement. No. So they have this catwalk where they're able to go up here and everything here. And then we have, the heat source coming through here, which I'm pretty sure is steam. I think back in the day it was, coal or fossil fuel, but most all of them are going to steam now. And but they have that. So this is your wash still here, which you can always tell the color designations. So where this has the red trim on it, and then these two have the blue trim. So that tells you that those are the spirit stills. And they, of course, then before all of that, they do employ Oregon pine washbacks. So their maturation, their fermentation times can be anywhere from like 60 hours to 120, 130 hours, depending on what they're wanting to do. But just gleaming, gorgeous. Again, this is in an older part of a building. So I think a lot of the new distilleries are out there and making the still house wide open, like Kilhoman, Ardnahoe, Ardbeg's new still house. That one whole wall is just picture windows. That's not necessarily able to do this on this old historic building. So what they've done is they have skylights and to let the light in, the natural light in. So that was really pretty interesting as well. But this, I think, is one of the best teaching tools and best displays of the effect that cask maturation has and how it affects the whiskey. And you go into this room, and there's actually 4 panels here. You can see 3. But it's a great way to be able to conceptualize what is happening during the maturation process. And Glengoyne does a beautiful job in teaching this and really putting a graphic representation together to make people understand, what happens when a spirit goes into a cask. And so they show the different types of puncheon, but there was a port pipe over on the far right side, I believe. This barrel is your typical barrel that they get from the States, from, like a bourbon barrel or something like that. And then this is shown how it's remade. So it's the same height, but it's fatter, it's bigger around because there's more staves in it. So that shows, again, different things that they're doing. this is one of those 4 panels, and each of the panels is a profile of wood. So this particular one is showing American oak. And again, they'll take American oak and season it with sherry, if that's what they need it for, or they'll use it as a bourbon barrel. But this particular, so there are 30 bottles in this frame, right? And each bottle represents 1 year of maturation in a barrel or in a cask. What is so cool is like, so it goes in clear, right? Your first year straight off of the spirit, it's going in clear right here. And as it ages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years, you see that there's a differentiation in the amount of liquid that's in that barrel, in that bottle. That's the angel's share. That's what's being lost. So the volume between the time it goes into the bottle to a 30-year maturation down here at the very last bottle, that differentiation, that void is the angel share. Crazy. So interesting. Along with that, it illustrates your color variation, right? The length of the way the spirit is taking on the characteristics, it's pulling out of the cask with the years and the maturation. The color is changing as well. And I just absolutely love this display. Now, y'all know I'm a technical writer. I need to know how things work. This is a beautiful example of being able to show someone what effect cask maturation has on the spirit, like where the spirit goes, how the spirit interacts with the cask, and what you start off with, how it's going, and how it ended. Just so very interesting. I just I know a couple of y'all have been there. I know Mike, I don't know if Daniel's still on. But man, when you go there, it's just like a light bulb moment, right? I mean, you really get it and you figure it out. It's like, man, now it all makes sense. So very cool. Let's see. So Mike says he has a couple of Glengoynes on the shelf that haven't opened them yet. Need to stop buying, catch up tasting. Man, we all have that. We all have that problem. I mean, I still haven't opened this cask strength yet because actually I have opened it. Now that I look at it, it is open. So we'll have to. You have to pop some bottles. You just have to. Hey, Martin, good to see you. I heard Dram is actually did. You don't have any Glengoyne either. Oh man, we're gonna have to do something about that. Awesome. That's okay. I'm glad. I hate him. I'd missed some WS show tonight. I need to go back and check it out. Yeah, and I do need I do need a magnifying glass to read this small stuff. I told somebody the other day I was not over the hill. I'm just picking up steam. just picking up. I'm just speeding up. I'm just like over the hill and I'm just picking up speed. Hey Kim, good to see you. Glad you're here. So Peter, that's good to know. If we want to spring for the 25, at least it's at 48 ABV. I can't even think about how much that one costs. Goodness gracious. Oh, me. Cindy, good. I'm glad you did. She's absolutely delight. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Roxanne, good to see you, friend. Yep, cherry or sherry, it's all tasty. I promise you. Yeah. So I'm guessing that you are a fan of the teapot dram there, huh, Andrew? You probably get a lot closer access to it than we might. Yeah. So Mark's getting to travel over. He's going to Scotland real soon, month and a half or so, huh, Boo? You need to find out if they still have it for sure. Hey, Katie, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks as well. Awesome. Look at all the folk. So it's the Teapot 7 that you have. That's what I've got too. I might have to crack that open here in a second because as much as I've heard about Teapot Dram, I've never had it. So I want to have it tonight. Awesome. Hey Rob, thanks for being here. So you got the cast strength batch 8. Ah, cool. I have to see again. I can't remember which batch this is. This is batch 6 on the cast strength. Okay. We'll have to compare. Yeah, the 3%. I'm so far behind on comments. Sorry about that, guys. I'm all excited about Glengoyne tonight. It really does mean a really big deal, you know. So it is a custom. Okay, well, you know, you kind of have to. You do have. It's a business, you know. You gotta play to who's going to buy your product, and if they're feeling like their folks don't want, you know, a higher proof, then that's why they made cast strength, I guess. You know. Oh goodness. So Whiskey Franco says he's turning 40 this year, and his 75-year-old dad said that you're almost over the hill today. Oh no, no, you're not over the hill. You're a spring chicken. Uh, so yeah, so Mark JG, 1 month, 13 days till he's in Scotland. Y'all, I'm so stoked for him. I am so very, very excited. So let me finish this legacy off. And I actually am going to try one of the teapot drams. Let me use a new glass because I don't want it to have anything to do. One moment, please. So this is the one I think Keith gave me. So I'm thinking it's maybe, holy moly, look at the color. So, you know, when you have these little brown, these amber brown bottles, you can't really tell what's going on until you pour them and you see this. Holy moly. So, okay, you teapot dram people, I'm guessing, goodness gracious, look at that. I'm thinking this is the 5 or 6. Oh, it's perfumey. So where the legacy, so the 18, recapping here, the 18 was more of that umami, kind of savory, dry. The legacy had far more malt, more winey. This, oh man. So I had that like almost that sourdoughness on the legacy, the NAS. This, this is total sherry. Oh my goodness. I mean, sherry whiskey. It's not like, oh, this is sherry in a glass. Although they can, I think I've had a couple that were a little heavy-handed, you know. But this is really interesting. Okay, the ABV is not marked on either of these. Well, actually, it's so the batch 7 is 59.9. So whatever this is, it's definitely a cast strength, a batch strength, because it's much hotter than that 48 was. Oh man, there's almost like a little pine tar. Now that sounds a little odd. Oh wow. So there's a cherry or a stone fruit kind of smell in there. Again, with more of the clove nutmeg as opposed to a cinnamon spice to it. The finish is not near as dry as I thought it might be. Not near as dry as the 18 was. Much sweeter than the 18. I would say even much sweeter than that Legacy Chapter 1. Sweet right in the middle of the palate, and a lingering warm spice. Definitely warm spice. Wow. Yum, 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 yum. Rob says 40 is the new 60. Or 60 the new 40. It kind of depends on your side of the coin there, Rob. I tell my friends that are turning 50, it's like 30, but with more disposable income and less responsibility, because hopefully all that may be gone away. So while I was there, I got the great tour. It was lovely. The grounds are amazing. But this is what I got to do, and I'm so stoked. I know Daniel got to do it. I was thinking, who else was it? I think Jimmy Jazz has done this as well. It is a fantastic experience to sit down and blend. But you can do this at home too, guys. I mean, you can really do this at home. You can grab 3 or 4, 5. In this case, we got 5 different samples of cast strength whiskey, taste each one, kind of get an idea about where they sit in your palate and the finish of them, but particularly how they smell. And you can blend your own. Just saying, you can do that. So before we got to the blending part, this section down here, we had all these little containers, these little glass containers with a cap, and they just had a number on them. And then you got a blank piece of paper with the same numbers, not multiple choice, blank piece of paper. And you had to smell this, take the cap off, smell it, and then say what it was. You had to write down what it was to you. So you went through this whole olfactory test before you even got to the blending part. This is actually what I mimicked my DIY nosing kit from, because I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do this at home. I need to learn these smells. I mean, I did pretty well on this. I think there were 20 of them, and I think I got like 17 or 18 of them right. There were a couple that were lost in translation. There was one, like one of the answers was pear drops. Andrew, you're probably laughing. You know what pear drops are. I'm like, what's a pear drop? And it's basically hard candy. And that's what I had written. I wrote hard candy. So I didn't know what a pear drop was. But that having that nose, because blending is mostly your nose. So going through and doing all of that was a huge light bulb moment. I'm chomping at the bit. We got to taste 3 different variations of the spirit. So we tasted a little bit of the heads, we got to taste the hearts, and then we tasted a little bit of tails. So that was really good to be able to say, okay, that you could really tell the difference in the spirit that was coming off and what the cuts were, and how the center, the heart was just so much better than the extremes on either end. The other thing we got to do is we got to taste the actual sherries. Now, I know Martin talked about this before when we were talking about wine whiskeys is, just go buy some different sherries. And there's they may even have little tiny bottles of Oloroso or PX or Amontillado or Fino, and you taste those and you can kind of get an idea of like where that fits, not only in your own personal profile, but how it would fit when you're tasting a whiskey and being able to pick those elements out. So we got to do all of that as a good base to figure out how we wanted to do our actual blending. So doing that and doing those blendings. So we had up here, we had 5 different cast strengths. Look at the colors, folks. These are all cast strengths. So they're different versions and different maturations and lengths of time. So it is hard to see, and I know it's probably hard to read, but this was the makeup of each of those 5 samples. And they ranged, they were, some of them were quite old, This was an 18. Sample 4 was an 18-year-old. Sample 5 was a 20-something-year-old. Sample 3 was 19 years old. Sample 4 was 15 years old. But we had some primarily that were, the first one was refill hogshead. The second one, and you see the color really showcased that. The second one was a first fill American oak bourbon barrel. The third one was a first fill American oak sherry puncheon. And then you get into first fill European oak sherry puncheon. So that one, there were 2 versions of that, a light and a dark. And the thing about that is you're going to have that wood influence. The American oak is going to have more of a mellow vanilla kind of base for it, but your European oak is where you're going to get a lot of your spice. So it was interesting to see how you would balance that along with maybe adding that bourbon matured in there. And there were some rules, like you had to use 30% of, like, I think the sample 1 had to be at least 30% of what you used or something. I'm trying to remember now. I had it, maybe it's in my box here. Let me look. But yeah, so that's it. So then you had a column measure, and you started kind of putting things in there and making your spirit. So yeah, so here's mine on October 19th, 2019. And this was mine that I made. And so this is my bottle. So Andrew was talking about the ABV of his bottle. I have no idea what ABV of mine is. But yeah, I mean, just absolutely gorgeous. And every once in a while I'll have a little bit, and then I wrote down what my recipe was out of all of those. But man, and even down to the cask number, and you have it all in this gorgeous little presentation box. I think we showed this a couple weeks ago, but putting in that in there, and you put that here. So this is my special occasion. I'll get this out from time to time and put it on, have a little dram, have a little taste of what I can do. But again, find some cask whiskey. It doesn't have to be the same producer. Just find a couple, get you a bourbon and a couple sherries or a different kind of wine cask. Play with your whiskey. Use a little bit and see what you get. You just never know. You just never know. Kevin, absolutely, you can have a sample of this and tell me what. It was my first blending. So I'm not claiming it's great. I'm just saying it's fun to do. It's absolutely fun to do. That's awesome. Yeah, lots and lots of fun, y'all. Lots of fun. But one of the best parts about that whole experience, and let me have a little bit of this teapot dram. Oh man, now I know why everybody goes mad over this stuff. Okay, that is really good. Mark JG, you better be going by there. Call them. If you haven't downloaded WhatsApp yet, call them. That's how I booked everything, through WhatsApp. But yeah, you're going to have to do that. Blending is so much fun because you can just play with your whiskey. You can just do so much. If you do a lot of SMWS, that's a beautiful way to play with your whiskey. You can get some oak, some of the blue, the classic vanilla and oak. God, what's that profile? The light blue. And you could just play with things and see. And again, you don't have to do like a whole volume bottle of it. You're just going to do a little bit. But you start out by nosing everything, nosing those glasses. So we had those 5 that we could choose from, but we poured out a little bit in each one of those glasses so we could get the nosing profile. When you put that blend together, then the first indication of whether it's a go, no go is the nose. Because if the nose isn't there, your palate's not going to follow. So yeah, it was truly amazing. One last thing about the trip to Glengoyne is it wasn't just the whiskey. It was the people. Y'all, Bill, he was so darling. I just wanted to pick him up and put him in my pocket and bring him back to Louisiana. He was just an absolute doll. This is the blending room. This is the room where we had our 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 class, and behind that wall is all the samples from the casks that they have. Can I tell you what a kid in a candy store was to sit there and look at all of that and just not want to open up cabinets and start going through it? It was great restraint, I will say, great restraint. And then this guy, this super nice guy there over on the right, this mug of a guy, Roy Aquavitae, just super fabulous individual. Hard to imagine how much nicer anybody could be than him. Came and found me, picked me up. We went to his house and his family. We ended up doing an impromptu live show that night, which was an absolute hoot and riot. Back in October. So that would have been October 19th, 2019. Go back in his volumes and watch that if you want to have some fun. But yeah, a lot of fun and just super people. And that's the best thing about whiskey, right? Is the sharing. It's the caring. I got to see Kevin this past weekend, and dude shares more whiskey than I've ever met in my life. But yeah, just being able to share that and talk about it, have fun about it. That's what it's all about. Glengoyne is a beautiful, beautiful distillery. Good people there. I like buying from good people, Yeah, I'd love for their ABV to be, sturdier on their core expressions. But in all honesty, I'm not the one who's going to be buying the 10 and the 12. I might buy another 18, but I would want it to be a little bit heftier on the ABV. But I'm going to look for an IB. I'm going to look for an independent bottler on it. I'm definitely going to go after a teapot dram bottle. Their cask strength is solid, and that's going to get me my sherry fix. They use quality casks. I'm really happy. This is not an ad. Nobody paid me. If everybody who knows me, I speak my mind. I say what I want to say. But it really does. They do a very good job of it. They are a sherry standard for me, where some, I think, oh, well, that's a sherry. They kind of think, oh, well, that particular, that's all they do is sherry. I'm like, but are they Glengoyne? Are they Tamdu? I kind of keep both of those right there. So I hope y'all have had fun with that. It's, and we'll be doing more of these different distilleries I've gone to. And after my trip in May and June, oh my gosh, we're going to have, y'all going to get tired of me. We're going to have so much content. I'm so stoked with the different trips we're going to be in, the different places we're going to be going and seeing. Wanted to kind of wrap up here on a couple of things. First, I want to say thank you again to all the Camp Drammers, all of you that have supported the channel through being a member. I really do appreciate that. Again, we just started that for 4 months, and everybody who's got the blue gator has been here since the inception. So thank you very much for that. But everyone else, everybody who comes on decides they want to spend a few, a few minutes, an hour or so chatting and being a part of the group here on a Tuesday night. I really do appreciate it. Tonight is, well, actually, it's for tomorrow, but 1 year we've been doing the live shows, y'all. 1 year. Now, granted, we had a few months stretch when Cox Cable did not provide internet services that were conducive to being able to do a live stream, but that's because the white horse of AT&T came in and we got fiber, baby. So, but yeah, 1 year, y'all, 1 year that we've been doing these. We have over 50 videos out now, and I can't thank y'all enough for being part of the channel. The encouragement, suggestions. It's about to be crawfish season. I've had quite a few people that are wanting to know about crawfish, so we're going to be doing some really fun videos on that. Update on the camp. We still have water. We went and checked on it this weekend, and there's still water in the back, but we'll be back down at the camp doing some more Camp Drammer reviews very, very soon. I actually prefer not to do those in hip waders. So we're excited about getting back down there for that, and hopefully enjoying a little bit of spring before it gets too hot. It's about to bust open with greenery down there for sure. And then I want to also do a shout out to a guy in our bourbon group called Tony. Tony came up to me at this event on Friday and asked me, "Hey, would you be interested in some old Scotch bottles?" And I'm like, "Old Scotch bottles? Sure, I'm interested." And I didn't quite understand what he said. And he goes, "Well, my father-in-law had some. They were gifted to him. He doesn't drink." And I was like, "Well, okay, great. Yeah, let me know about them." And he goes, "Oh no, I've got them." And he ran off, and he came back, and this is what he gave me. And I want to put this out because I know some of you, Andrew, I'm kind of looking at you, buddy, because this is your neck of the woods. So one of these was a Ballantyne's Scotch whiskey, the finest Scotch whiskey. It's really interesting. I've tried to look a little bit about these online as to like where the labeling is, and I'm still struggling to date these. This one I think might be 70s or the 80s. And they're brand new, y'all. I mean, it literally looks like it just came off the shelf. It's absolutely gorgeous in the original box. And I was flabbergasted. The generosity in this, I mentioned Kevin. Kevin is his own generous beast. I'll talk about that some other time. And then the other one is a liter, not a 700, but a liter of Dewar's White Label. The packaging, y'all, look at this guy. And then you have the monument right off Prince Street. You have the Edinburgh Castle. You have the Piper. Absolutely gorgeous. And this big boy is amazing. Oh my gosh. So, but this is, and I think this is 1960s. I'm not sure, but that's from what I've been able to find. And again, it's the white label. It's a liter bottle. It's heavy, and there's no corrosion. There's no, I don't know how they were kept, but they were beautiful and pristine. So, yeah, really pretty cool. And I was totally taken aback. So big shout out to Tony, who does not drink Scotch. And that's okay, boo, because I'm gonna find you some bourbon that you'll like. And thank you very much for thinking of me enough to gift these over, because that's more than generous. So if anybody knows anything or knows a resource of how to date these, I was looking for tax numbers. I was looking for all kinds of things, but they're blends, of course. So there's no paper labels like in some of the old single malts and that I know that we can date. So any help there, DM me, scotchinthebayou@gmail.com. But yeah, so we're going to have fun. Next week, we're going to be talking, all the ladies coming to the party. We're going to be celebrating International Women's Day. And I'm going to have some of my favorite whiskey friends who just happen to be women, because women are in whiskey. Of course they are. We make the stuff. We drink the stuff. But it's not going to be a I am woman, hear me roar. But we are going to really celebrate those women who have something to contribute to the spirits. And I'm super excited about that. Awesome. Yeah. So, okay. I will email you some pictures and let you know, whatever you can do. I just, it's going to be like a treasure hunt trying to figure out some different things about that. But yeah, no problem. Hey, Michael, you're always here in spirit or otherwise. No worries, friend. Awesome. Yeah, Jimmy Jess. Yeah, for a blend night. That would be fun. We could do that. It looks good. I'm I'm pretty stoked about it. And it's it's interesting. This white label one Jimmy has it has a label on it that says 86.8 US proof. So it's 43.4. It's not 40. So there's that, you know. Who knows? This is great. Awesome. Um, Again, y'all, thanks so much. We're gonna have a great time. I hope you enjoyed the Glengoyne. I hope you drink well and have a wonderful week. And we will be all back doing this next week, same time. Watch the credits. Thanks, Camp Drammers. We'll see you. Till next time. Salon to y'all.